Hey friends, welcome back. This is Stacking Pennies. I'm Corey LaJoy alongside Ryan Flores, and Kyle Larson's going to be joining us right here in the Noncents Garage here in a bit to break down all things Atlanta. My day ended unfortunately a bit too soon. We had a good car. We were working our way to the front, and that was it. And that was all she wrote. But all that and more, it's going to be a great show. This is Stacking Pennies. Buckle up.
Stacking them deep, selling them cheap.
It tastes like gasoline, rubber, and victory.
We're just out here stacking pennies.
And we're in it. Hey guys, hope you had a great week. We're going to break down a little bit of Atlanta. Corey LaJoy here alongside Ryan Flores. Well, first off, buddy, I don't even know where we start. Quick shout out to Kyle Busch winning the truck race. Austin Hill winning another superspeedway race. And then we'll dive into the Cup Series stuff here.
Man, I was pulling for Stu. Stuart Freeze in there.
I didn't watch a lap of it, actually.
There's some controversy because the Christian, whoever run third, Ingram, maybe Tyler Ingram, wouldn't push Stuart across the line.
No.
And at the end, he was like,
because it was Toyota.
He said, "Well, it doesn't hurt me if Kyle Busch wins. If you win, it hurts my chance of making the playoffs." And I was like,
"Oh, he's playing 4D chess,
dude."
Second race.
I think Stu was frustrated about it. But I saw that come across Twitter, and I was like,
"Hey, not wrong."
It's a lot of storylines. These kids are thinking.
All these kids are developing.
Yeah,
they're evolving. And that, hey, at the end of the day, you only care about your team's success throughout the year, and that's a valid thought.
Yeah, and then Austin Hill threw a little bit of shade at Justin Allgaier because I guess Allgaier got clear of him down the backstretch and didn't move up.
Yeah,
and he was like, "Yeah, it was a gift. Thanks." Yeah. So,
well, I saw a lot of fans up in arms about now. Austin Hill is the all-time lap leader in the Xfinity Series, above Dale Earnhardt and Dale Jr. collectively are 2 and 3 now. So people did not like that. I mean, every fact that you could possibly throw
what's
away.
Not like?
Yeah,
what are you gonna do? Like, boom?
Yeah.
How do you not like that?
On the contrary, I think you should appreciate the quality of cars that RCR is bringing. Whether it's him winning or Jesse Love winning Daytona last week and Atlanta last year. I sat next to Austin Dillon in the driver's meeting. I said, buddy, your speedway cars are, in terms of dominance in some era, in some discipline of a racetrack, besides like a Roush era when those four at a intermediate were just unbeatable. It's hard to remember a car or a team that was that dominant at any particular style racetrack.
Yeah, on Xfinity for sure, on the Xfinity side. And then you fast forward to Sunday, the 8 was a really good pusher. He was really fast.
Before we get into the weeds of the Cup race, several big news leading into the weekend. I would have pushed all my chips onto the table and bet that the 75 wasn't going to get an appeal overturned. I think the only person to ever get any appeal overturned in the history is Mr. Hendrick. So unfortunately for Parker, they didn't get the appeal overturned. Nonetheless, he kept the checker flag, which he earned that. Didn't get the points, money, or the trophy, but he got the checker flag. Sometimes that's all you need just to remember it.
Yeah, I heard that there was a pitch angle, so the front ride height directly correlates to the rear ride height.
What I thought was super interesting was that small team, Chris Carrier's like the only guy that's working on that truck, right? They get their trucks from Spire. Obviously, Spire builds some great trucks. They assumed all the KBM jigs and things like that, so they just continue building what Kyle Busch was building. And Henderson Motorsports was a affiliate team of that. Chris Carrier was in the media center doing post-race interviews while the truck was going through tech.
Oh, buddy. So, yeah, when you're a one-car team, when you like one guy like that, he's not just the crew chief. He's the car chief. He's the front-end mechanic. He's the only guy that knows everything that's going on with that car. And at the Cup level, you take that for granted because you have people in that position. But, yes, I didn't think about that.
Because Chris Carrier knows the tricks. He knows the things. He knows where to set the nose to get the quarter heights. He knows where to set the quarter heights to get the left front frame rail. All those little nuances of the truck to get it through. Chris Carrier would have been there. He would have rubbed some elbows with an official that he knew for 15 years, and the thing breezes on by. And I think so.
Yes and no, but if they said, hey, we need you to set these front heights, you'd say, no, I can't do that because then you can talk about it, but if you go through tech and you do something wrong, you have with those cars, it's fickle, right? You turn the wheel and get the caster to jack it up and jack it back down when you get up on the platform. So there's a lot there, and everybody says a 1/4 inch, an 1/8 inch, it doesn't matter. Well, they give you a 1/2 inch tolerance,
Right.
so or more. I don't know what the tolerance on those sticks are anymore, but rules are rules, and that sucks that they didn't win the race. It was we were sitting in the beach house in Daytona,
Big
just
sad.
cheering for Parker.
I went to bed very happy, woke up very sad.
Yes. So sucks for them, but
You know who else
unless
woke
you're
up-
Mr. H, you ain't winning an appeal, dog.
You know who else woke up very sad? I believe that might have been on Tuesday or Wednesday morning. James Small in the 19 team. Big penalty for that 19 car.
That is a tough one. And when you qualify a 10th better than the field Daytona 500 with the same car as everybody, it definitely raises alarms.
Yeah.
You can't mess with that stuff, dude.
You can't. What I also learned this past week, too, because I'm like, those little things, those little washers here and there and the oversized holes and the bolts that might be a little bit too small for the hole so you can kind of move it around, all those things, when your team is the one disassembling the cars, you can kind of put them in your pocket and you can do all the things that racers have done forever. Now, Jay Fabian has assembled a group that when you bring your car to the R&D center to tear down after the race, they take it apart for you and you just stand there back and watch.
Yeah.
This year, or maybe halfway through last year, they did that.
Yeah, and all those little pennies that you stack to make your car faster, they're huge. And like you said, you would, in years past, like you would have teams that not only do you figure out how to get stuff through, you also figure out how to get it off and how to make it disappear and smoke and mirrors,
You've
right?
got a story about that. It's past the statute of limitations, so you can tell a story now.
I don't have a
Yes,
story
you do.
about which one?
The side skirt braces.
Oh, the side skirt. Well, they weren't necessarily legal at Vegas.
But why were you?
They just wanted me to take them off, and I this was on the 14 car back at Stuart Haas. We had won we won the championship 2011, then 2012. I was the one putting them on at the shop, and then that job came off of my plate at the shop, and then I rolled under the car to take them off. We had won Vegas, and somebody had bolted them all on, not riveted them, so it took twice as long to take them off. And NASCAR saw us taking these side skirt braces off, and I made them disappear.
Yeah.
Like, where'd they go?
What are you talking about?
I'm like, I don't know, they're gone. And then they were like, you better get them. And the competition director there at the time was like, make them disappear. So I made them disappear, and then he's like, you better go get them. And I was like, oh man, I almost got my hard card taken for that one. But that was just, when I was on that 14 team, that was partly my job, right? Go through tech, then maximize the quarter panels, do all the little things that stacks pennies, and then be able to get it back when you go back through tech. And I was probably the one they had doing that because I was 23-year-old expendable guy that if I got thrown out, they
For
didn't
sure,
care.
they wouldn't have lost any sleep about you being in the parking lot the rest of the weekend. That's the way it's always been, and that's the way it's always going to be. The teams that can figure out how to get the most through tech and then after tech, and then just build, especially even more so now that all the cars are the same parts and pieces. It's just how you fit and finish and assemble them.
You know, the ones that I think were the best at that, and we're off kind of on a tangent, but the people that were the best at that, the team that was the best at that, other than the 78, which is now James Small's bunch, but it was the 9 car. With the old steel body cars, dude, those guys were the best at taking advantage and after tech, kind of working the aero tricks. And I think we saw that roll over into some struggles with the next gen car here.
I heard a story, and so Blake Harris, crew chief of 48, was previously on the 78 car chief. He actually, he had a Allison Legacy car business. He had 4 or 5 cars right down the street from the shop here. So he's just been a racer and a grinder his whole career. And he was like the guy at the 78 that was making that thing skew more than everybody else and make more downforce than everybody else. I heard that after he wedged himself above the rear end housing to take wrenches to pop truck arm shims out. We need to ask Blake Harris himself.
That 78 car was a wild bunch. See, a situation like that was the same thing that we were in with Stuart Haas when it was a new team with the 1439. You get your cars built by a big team, and then you just get to cheat them up, and you don't have anybody like a Rick Hendrick or Roger Penske to ask you, so you're a lawless bunch. Mm-hmm. And it's rolled over. You see that if you trace some of the biggest finds and some of the biggest things that we've had go on in the last year, you draw it right back to that shop in Colorado, the guys that were there. So they still know what they're doing.
Ain't scared.
And they're not scared, but now it's a little bit more in the news. But
that is a large points and playoff points and financial hit, and also having your head guy not be at the track for the next 4 weeks.
He's also negative 51 in points, and this is a big ride, a big year for them. And I think the thing when he got that ride was got to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Got to make the playoffs. And now it's an uphill battle, and you got to win a race. And
yeah.
Gibbs, I mean, I was talking to the Gibbs pit coach before this, and he's like, I feel like we haven't won a race in 8 months. They won this weekend finally, but it's not easy to win cup races, dude. So
no, it's not. I've been living it. Still trying to figure it out. Where do we even start? Where do we pick up? So naturally, as everybody would expect, the Penske cars / Wood Brothers cars / front row technical affiliated teams, I believe, were 7 of the first.
That was impressive.
Yeah.
That was impressive. It was cool to get the pole, too. Pit stall 1, we'll talk about it. Boats N Woes is challenging at Atlanta, but it helped us later on in the day. But, yes, they had a ton of speed, and they were able to control the whole race. A lot of times at these super speed races, you see the guys that qualify up front struggle in the race because the handling doesn't go hand in hand. And it seemed like this Atlanta, man, first off, what an awesome race.
It's the best track on the schedule.
It's the best ticket in the sport right now.
It's the best visually appealing. And it's also not like, sure, we were making the case that this track, Marcus turned the entertainment knob up and turned the competitive knob down.
I have a thought on this.
Tell me.
Atlanta Speedway now Atlanta Motor Speedway is the perfect example of why drivers can't make rules. Because all the drivers got on. I mean, Denny pops to mind, right? Because he's the most vocal. But all these drivers got on and were just about Atlanta, another speedway race, unsafe. And now now they're just talking about how fun it is, how great it is, the best racing in the sport. And we were all mad because the tire wear. Old Atlanta was cool for everybody on pit road and people driving the car.
That was it.
That's it. Now it is, I'm telling you, the best ticket in the sport.
And everything happens at like 2x speed. Your moves have to be instantaneous. You have to commit to the certain runs, and there's a way the traffic shuffles, but you're just trying to always, you got one eye on the mirror, you got one eye at the windshield, trying to put the guy behind you, trying to cover his run, trying to also put yourself in the best spot. And the air gets much more turbulent naturally. Super speedway package, big spoiler. For our race, trying to get into that top 18, top 15 is like when the air gets a bit less disturbed and you can start maneuvering and you can actually start formulating runs.
Buddy, when you're back there, I just think about the guy that goes, like the beekeeper in the white suit with the smoke trying to go into the nest.
Yeah, dude.
That's what it looks like. You guys are just in the swarm. I always there's a picture of crew chief we used to work with in like a full garb, like bee garb, and I just pull it out whenever we're like in that
Hornet's
12th, like this is us right now, boys.
It's the Hornet's nest.
We're in the Hornet's nest.
And nothing was more true for our race. We missed the balance slightly to start. The guys worked on it. We had the tires off. We were slinging rounds at it to try to mitigate some stop load and just so I can go be aggressive. And we got it better, and we had a couple good restarts, and we finally broke that bubble into the top 20. We're like, okay, I'm getting a sniff of some clean air. We're in a better fuel position. Some guys in front of us, I thought we could have flipped to the top 10. And I think we had a good enough car to be in the top 8 to 12th. Fairly easy, but also there's also 20 cars that could have done that as well. But unfortunately didn't go our way. We can run that in. So there's 2 instances that were the first instance, guys. I've never been scared in the car, but when something happens that you don't expect, when there's a car on the front stretch being the 34, he had a flat right rear, then he just like put the parachute out.
Oh, he did. He was up front,
buddy.
Oh,
because I had no idea in comms that he was out there slow until like the very last minute. And it was one of those deals where I'm following the 11 tight. It'll look probably less bad because my camera was in the top right of the windshield. I'm behind Denny, tucked up tight.
Whoa!
Run that back again, dude. Oh, dude, my heart just skipped to get beat watching it again.
So you never. Oh my God,
dude! Holy cow! I was like, that was close, buddy.
So you never heard anything from who was spotting for you? Crazy.
Yeah, I don't know if he was trying to look out the back for runs coming. I don't know, but that could have been absolutely massive. I would have.
That's a hard spot too, because up near the fence, under the flag stand, like from his angle, it's probably the hardest spot to see.
Well, unfortunately, a very similar instance happened, and it ended our day. So run the clip of the.
Yeah, this is
so
the same spot.
We finally work, and we finally get to maybe 16th, 17th, 18th, and we're like, all right, I feel good.
Ricky plugged the 9 in the fence.
Well, Ricky was getting a lot of hate here.
Was he?
Oh, man, 1 inch away just from getting clipped by the 9. I believe he had a bent toe link, so the thing kind of cocked sideways on him down the front straight. He's out of the gas trying to hang on, and that was the end of our day.
Yeah, Ricky's going to get hate when he wrecks the Georgia boy at Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Can we rewind that back a little bit? If we're trying to pin some blame, it was a racing deal. Nobody was at fault. Everybody has 3 pedals, and one makes it go faster and one makes it go slower. But the 12 was in front of the 47, and we don't have a good angle of it here, besides me crashing. But the 12.
Okay, so we're in front. No, the 47's down.
Well, he wasn't down. He was 3 feet off the door of the 19, and then the 12 closed it off, and he wasn't really clear. So the 47 tried to stay off of the left rear of the 12 to not wreck him, and then he eventually wrecked himself.
Oh, okay.
And got flopped up into the 9, and the 9 was the innocent bystander, and then the 01 was crashed. So then followed that up with another big, large crash. Couple hits on the 51. Wrote one off. Cole Custer hit a ton. So the 99 had some interesting comments. I don't know if we have those comments, but the 99 come off 4 and doesn't really know he's top of 3, kind of crowds the 54 there. Then just bounce, smash, and then the 51 dude, big wreck. Cody said he said this on a Bob Pockris interview, and I asked if he was okay, but he popped his eardrum.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, from the ear cups in the helmet, like the pressure of his head smashing up against the wall.
Don't like that. That's
I don't
really
like that
hard
either.
For equilibrium and everything.
Yeah. So wish a speedy recovery for Cody, but that was a large crash. I'm interested to hear what his mouthpiece sensor was. So tough day for RWR. 2 instances back to back. Unfortunately, that was it. And then
we're right down there in pit stall 1, and it's like you're on the racetrack there.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like duck. You're like when they start wrecking down the front stretch. I think that's one thing that makes Atlanta super tricky as far as mile and a half. It's obviously way smaller than Daytona and Talladega, but that front stretch the wall getting flat there, we see a lot of problems there.
Well, you're in traffic, so you have no air on the nose of your car relatively, and you can legitimately go to lock sometimes if you're in a bad aero spot, like hoping to turn, and finally it gets like a little sniff of clean air, and you're like, oh, finally finished turning. And I love the balance right now of how the asphalt's getting more porous. It's starting to get much more gray. So there's a handling element to it, to where you have to make sure you're positioned right to get some clean air. You don't want to be poked out if you're too free on the right side, because that's what makes the cars get that snap loose moment. It's a fun track. I wonder if it's to the point to where NASCAR can open some practice up, at least a 20-minute session to start working on your stuff.
Do you think when we put tires on our car at the end, we got spun, so host of
it's worth a lot.
Super aggressive.
Tires were worth a lot.
We put them on and we drove right back to the front.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that's the next time we go back a play, especially in the summer when it's hot.
Late tires.
Like late tires and charge through, because it was hard to go anywhere when everybody's on equal tires.
Correct.
And then I was like, when we got spun out, which Hostvar, we need to
pin that and talk
about that. When he spun us out, we came in. I was like, man, I think we're done.
I was worried about your diffuser strakes. That's what I was worried about, sliding on that.
It got the splitter was ground, but everything was pretty good. And it was like, okay, let's just see what we can get, and if we don't get into a wreck, because when you got in that 6th to 12th bubble, we couldn't get out of it, and then we're just back to 4th. I'm like, holy shit, boys, we might win this thing.
Yeah.
Or at least have a chance with pushing the 2-car, which Larson's coming in next. We can talk to him about that 2-car incident. But back to, we talked before the show started, and and we kind of touched on it, but you sent out a tweet this week of Dale Earnhardt being frustrated about the Speedway package. And we saw Denny being frustrated about the Speedway package last week. Saw Denny really hammer Cole Custer pretty hard.
Yep.
But I see Kyle Larson make arguably the best driver
Do some of the same things.
America.
In
Make the same mistakes. But I just wanted to touch on, like, this package at Atlanta. How do we get Daytona and Talladega to race like this, where you can build runs, take runs, you can get tight? Do you take spoiler off? Do you add horsepower? What do you do?
Well, I believe there's a particular mile per hour number that the insurance company likes to keep it below. Because
Is
if you
that
take,
true?
Yeah, I don't know if it's true or not. I've heard speculation of that. There is some reason, whether it's liftoff speed or whatever, that NASCAR likes the Daytona Talladegas to be between 195 and 201 miles an hour. Because when we started
Are
testing,
you guys going 201 miles an hour now?
in Michigan, you go that fast.
But not at Daytona and Talladega.
No, but when you're running
You're racing like
when you're running a
180?
45-second lap, that's a 195 average lap time.
Really?
Yeah. I would say you're probably 192 average, generally speaking, in the pack. But if you get a big tow or you get a good group that's full song, you're running 198, 199.
So if you take half the blade off the back, take half the spoiler off.
you go 15 miles an hour faster.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
So in turn,
When
you
we
would
started
have
testing
to-
these, the first test of Daytona, when we went down there, we had a 4-inch blade. And we were running 4380s, 44-second laps, which
So
is like
you-
Cale Yarborough type stuff.
So the only way to get this racing at Daytona and Talladega to be like the racing at Atlanta is to lose grips somehow.
Yes, there's no element of handling that comes into play at Daytona and Talladega.
So you need to lose grip without doing it with drag.
Correct. It's tire, I think. It's
It's tire, or you go back to a common rear suspension, where like you roll through and they give you your rear shocks.
that's what it is.
It's that now.
Yeah. No, they don't give you rear shocks,
No.
but you can spring it how you want, but you have common rear geometry.
Common rear geometry, but they used to give us springs and shocks and everything.
It's because now there is an 1.5 inch more tire surface. This is my theory on, and I don't know if I've said it on the show or not. There is my theory on whether it's short track issues or speedway issues is that the cars are too heavy by hundreds of pounds. This car is like 175 more pounds than the previous car. It also has an 1.5 inch more tire patch in every corner. So that's 6 more inches of rubber on the ground. So you got a heavier car, more tire on the ground, same power. So the horsepower to weight ratio is going to be way less because it's got more traction and more weight. And with the previous car, there was an element of your front tires going away and you had to start lifting a little bit. Like you have to lift and maneuver and position yourself in traffic at Atlanta a ton because your stuff doesn't handle in turbulent air whatsoever. And as you get closer to the front and you get cleaner and less turbulent air, then allows you to maneuver better. But getting into that bubble of like cleaner air is a challenge. We saw Denny have a hard time breaking that bubble. He barely got to the top 10 by the end of the race. Started back there with me, and you could see that the 11 and the 54 were skewed. Even the 20 qualified right in front of me. They were heavy downforce. But the downforce doesn't do you very much when you're in the back because all the air is terrible, no matter if you're full trim or full downforce. But to fix the speedways, would I like to see them go a touch faster? Yes, but I don't think that's really going to change it. You've got to take – I'm a proponent of what would like F1 went to the tire that had like the strips in it.
Yeah, to take grip out.
It doesn't look great, and I think Goodyear actually tried that.
You'll never see it because it's in the fender. The only time you'll see it's on pit
I
stop.
know, and I agree. We need to take tire grip away from these things. And if
If you want it to look cool, you can just put a cool tread on it.
Yeah.
Or something. You know, you're taking like rubber where the rubber meets the road. You're taking it away.
Yeah.
Wow, it's interesting.
That's my theory, and I've been saying that, but everybody has a degree in race car science, especially ones that have the loudest megaphone. What I don't like is this. I was so confused on what Denny's reason for airing out all the things he says carries a lot of weight and a lot of merit. He's got a lot of great points, and I agree with him in most of his points because he is an elite level driver and he's been with an elite level, surrounded by elite level people his whole career. So he knows the intricacies of the sport better, almost as good as anybody. But what good does it do by drumming up a narrative that makes the public persona of our sport negative? Because he is heavily invested in the future health of the sport. Why don't we have critical discussions behind closed doors rather than getting the fans to buy into, because they're going to believe whatever I tell them and whatever Denny tells them, whatever Dale Jr. tells them. I just don't see why turning the fans into some narrative to think the product we're putting on the racetrack is a good idea.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't
There's
get
just
it.
a lot of, would you call it volatility after the races, of like what people look at, whether it be the cautions, which the cautions in this race, it probably needed to be a caution at the end with the 21.
Yep.
But it's just, there's a lot of past misses. Like, you can't seclude one instance into why people are getting mad about that. But
And everybody's going to have their own opinion of how they should be fixed.
hopefully hauler talk helps, where they can talk about what happened and get maybe some thinking about it. But at the end of the day,
At least there's a little bit of accountability there.
there's some accountability there, and you get to listen. We're all just humans,
Yeah.
and even like the big NASCAR machine is just a human that are pushing the buttons. But to your point, right? Denny's heavily vested in the sport, and what he says holds a lot of weight. But they're also like, and I go back to the Dale Earnhardt interview that you tweeted. There's a point in a career where the sport changes, and what you've done and you've been successful with, you maybe doesn't work for you anymore, and somebody comes and they're a little faster, and the frustration boils over, and you put a microphone in somebody's face, and this is bull. They ruined it,
Yeah.
right? It's not a new conversation.
Yeah.
Where we've been talking about them ruining super speedway racing. It goes back to that interview in, what was it, 1999, 2000.
Yeah.
So, and to your point, Dale Jarrett probably loved
the
it,
package. Yeah.
right? So it depends on
The
who you're
competitive
talking
bias.
to, and anything can be cut out and clipped in a certain light. But yeah, I don't. There's a lot of people that say a lot of stuff on podcasts anymore that it's like, it probably need to be a conversation for a closed door.
I'm guilty of it too, but I generally try to, using this platform, talk about how awesome the sport is. And also, but yeah, we generally hold people accountable if somebody makes a mistake. But if we are critical about certain aspects of it, I'm walking to the NASCAR truck and just sitting down and asking their philosophy on what needs to happen or what they saw, and then offering my opinion. It's not going to be on this podcast because they're not going to listen to that. And then also, oh, you know what? He's got a damn good point. Let's go figure some stuff out. That's not how things are done. And sure, everybody has their own way of doing things, but I wish that we could all be in the same mindset of like, let's put out a positive narrative, because there's so much positive energy going on in the sport, and there is a big separation between the energy and the positioning and posturing within teams with their eye on potentially new OEMs and, and the future media deals and the future valuation of these charters. There is a lot of internal frenzy of trying to position your team the best to ride this wave of where the sport's going to go. It feels like somebody, and I don't know when it's going to pop, it's like somebody dropped a Mentos in the Coke bottle, 2-liter Coke bottle, and eventually the top is going to blow off the sport in a positive way. And it's going like and I talked to Mike Helton about this on pit road. I was like, I feel like there's this bubbling of like the sport is, once this lawsuit stuff gets ironed out, once like this consistently negativity by people that are on the food that they keep coming back to the same restaurant to order, once that turns, the top's going to pop off, and it's going to catch up to all the other live leagues in terms of valuations and financials. And maybe I'm wrong in thinking that, but having conversations in the garage this weekend, I'm like, oh, what the public thinks of the health of the sport and the future doesn't match the conversations that are going on in the garage.
It's way better than what people think. Yes. I don't know. I just think that's kind of where the world's been to the last couple of years of like negative media is selling. But hopefully, it's starting to turn. It's starting to turn the other way.
I certainly want to talk and hear Kyle Larson's perspective, because he was leading on the last lap, had some incident with the two. We're going to hear his thoughts when he pops in here in studio. But also, everybody wants to talk about the issues but not offer a solution. So here is my, without putting too much thought to it, besides driving home last night, like, how can you continue to see a race for the win while also making sure it's safe if there's a massive pileup? I wonder if you could do like some sort of work, call it something like a last lap caution, to where when the wreck starts, if it starts on row 4, that's frozen from the previous loop. And whoever makes it out, whoever's in front of the wreck, it's like we have some sort of beacon on the dash panel to where technology's out there to where it lights up like old Arca lights. And if it's yellow, you know your position's locked. The people in front of that loop, when the caution comes out, are racing it out come hell or high water to the checker flag. But sure, there's instances that won't work, but that's just my opinion.
I'm on the side of less government, like on this one.
Yeah.
I just wish there was like consistency is the word that just keeps coming up with everybody, but
every instance is different.
It just goes, it was last year. Every instance is different, but there's also common sense. And the thing that there was no common sense of, and you can't talk me out of it, listening to any podcast about it, throwing a caution at the duel, there's no common sense there. Like at that second duel coming to the checker, or was it the first one coming to the checker?
Oh, yeah.
It's the first race of the year. Everybody's excited.
Yeah.
You hit the button, right? That puts everybody's flags raised, right?
Yeah.
Now they're on, and it's bubbled over.
Yeah.
Okay, now we don't throw it.
Yeah.
Now we do throw it.
Yeah.
Now we don't throw it. So now it's a narrative every week. It's like going to the snowball derby, and who's going to make it? Okay, the race was won. Keep Twitter up for the next hour and a half to see if they make it out of tech. It's just like, I don't want that. But for me, I wish that there was a point of, like, if they make it into 3, we're not gonna throw it. But
then you get somebody that's been running 33rd all day and just tries to hot dog that thing through the smoke.
Yeah, but it's not. Listen, we're not talking Cole Trickle driving through it back to the caution to get your spot. Like, if you wreck, by the time the guy that's running 33rd is through it, they're either too far back, like they're in a pack, right? So the wreck happens. So people are going to have to drive through it and miss it anyway. Yeah. It's not like listening to the teardown yesterday, they're like, well, you'll have this. No, like the top 30, the whole field is within a football field. Yeah. And if they start wrecking, the guy that's going to run into it is either going to run into it or he's not.
Yeah.
He's not just going to keep his foot buried and smash. Like, he's going to have to miss it either way.
Yeah.
So like we have this safety aspect that like everybody's like, well, it's not safe. It's not safe. And that's like the easy way out of a hard conversation.
Yeah.
But racing's not safe, and speedway racing's not safe. And you're gonna have that crash, but like you're not gonna have the Cole Trickle. I'm through it, Harry. You don't have to do that anymore.
You can drive through it.
That's not that's
I know it. I know it,
a real thing. Not even a real thing in that. It's like he comes up to the smoke. Oh, I see the smoke. Oh, I'm gonna floor it.
The rule is you aim right for him.
It's like, I think that's what everybody thinks about. That's not how it actually happens.
No, that's what race car drivers do.
But it's just like Daytona. Daytona, there was a large wreck on the backstretch, and we raced back, and nobody got more injured, nobody got hurt, nothing major happened from it. Now, there was an instance a couple of years ago where the drivers all have to be smart enough too that if their car's wrecked, once they cross the start finish line, to stop.
Hang on,
because
that's just a sentence that two things don't belong. Drivers aren't smart. Guys just drive their cars to the absolute wheels fall off.
If the guys that are making the
anymore.
most amount of money can't figure out how to fix it, and they want NASCAR to all the drivers that have the big houses and have the airplanes are all about how NASCAR needs to fix it. Maybe they can fix some on their own. But
yeah.
I like the point of
the financial.
There was
broken.
an instance where Ryan Priest's car was like undrivable, unsteerable, and he about hit an ambulance
today. Or
no,
yesterday?
like years ago, because Joey was like, "Watch out!" He was like, he split through the ambulances and the tow truck and the ambulance. I don't remember where it was, but like everybody's got to be smart enough of like, we're coming to the checkered and then shut her down. But that's something NASCAR has to figure out with the drivers to understand. Is there a sector caution? Like is there something that happens there? But to cheat the fans out of a finish yesterday sets us backwards as a sport. And I know we're long-winded, but
no, I agree with that. I just don't know what the solution is. Do we bring back the overtime line that used to be a line halfway on the straightaway?
No. That I never understood what the overtime line did.
Hang on. That's just the thing. That's the point you just made. It's
no,
some
but there
distinct
doesn't
point
need
in
to
the
be,
racetrack that when you get to it, then you're racing to the
Yeah, but that's a conversation that the people hitting the caution button have to have. Like, we know that when it gets here, like, not a strict rule, But like internally to themselves, we know that when it gets here, we're going to let them race it out. But if it happens back here, we can't let them race it out because the cars are going to cross the start-finish line and make it back there at speed, right? Like if you cross start-finish line at Daytona and they wrecked into 3, they're going to be slowed down by the time they get back over there, and they could take the proper precautions. Atlanta's a little bit different because it's a smaller track. But the safety vehicles, once the whole field's by,
they can get out there.
They can get out there.
Yeah.
So that's the tough part is common sense has to come into play here.
I'm glad we cleared that all up for the listeners at home following it along for that 20-minute rant. That was good.
Moving on.
Let's go ahead and get Kyle Larson jumping in on to Noncents Garage. He's got a lot of things going. Obviously was right in the mix for that win last night. Let's go ahead and get him in and talk about it. All right, guys, we're right here in studio in the Noncents Garage with none other than Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson, thank you for jumping on Stacking Pennies.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me on again.
Talked to Cliff a little bit at, I don't know where we were, Daytona. I was like, how's it been out during the rain delay? Well, Kyle's just really beating himself up over these super speedways, and I got to tell him, like, not to worry about crashing. And he's like really, really focused on crashing, and if he thinks about crashing, then he's gonna crash more, but I know he just doesn't need to worry about it, like it was one of those where he's like genuinely concerned about how you're beating yourself up, because like watching your career, there are things that like Volusia where you're like, I know I got to be good at this, but it has like, what's it gonna change? And it's just like one shift. But speedway racing right now is so, it seems like so fluid, like it changes. And then right when you think you have it figured out, then the fuel strategy changes. Then you're buried again. You can't go anywhere. So it's like one of those things that like I used to talk about it a lot. And I'm just speaking on my own like recollection of it. But like when I worked on the 14 and did all the fab stuff on it, I'd be like, why are we working so hard on the speedway car? Tony's going to flip it. Let's work on Indy or Richmond, right? So it's like, it's a tough game. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's difficult, and I feel like, like you said, you feel like you start to figure it out, and then it changes. Like the 500, I feel like, although we haven't had good finishes, I feel like I'm confident when I go to a super speedway. We're up towards the mix of it typically, but Daytona, I was just like mad afterwards because like, man, I just like every move I made, which wasn't many moves, was the wrong one, and then you just get gridlocked, back there, and you're just
waiting to wreck.
Right around.
Yeah.
And then, it's just like I'm just right in the middle, like, okay, what am I going to wreck?
Give the belts a nice little tuggy because you know what's coming.
Yeah, and then you see guys like, William, who's right next to me, misses the wreck by this much every time. It's like, I can't, why can't I line myself up in the right lane ever? But there's more that goes into it than luck, for sure. Like, it's easy to say that speedway racing, it comes down to luck, but it's the same guys, that are winning all the time, Penske guys, they're always up front. Williams always up front. You're always up front. Ricky's always up front. Like you guys have an idea of how to do it, and I don't know. I just haven't quite figured it out. But like Atlanta's so different. I enjoy that.
What'd you think about that one? That one's fun as hell,
dude. It is so fun. Yeah, I hate to say that too, but it is. It's a lot of fun.
Why do you hate to say it? Were you like a hater of it when they? Well, I think the entire garage was like, what the hell are they doing?
Yeah.
But it is aged like a fine wine.
Yeah. No, I think I would still prefer the old Atlanta, just because I feel like I would have selfishly a better shot. But like pure entertainment value, I don't know how it comes across on TV, but behind the wheel, it is tense. Like,
oh my gosh, glad you said it, because my heart rate feels like my blood pressure's peaked.
Yeah, like, I mean, just grip to the wheel, like just little movements. It's fun. It's what I wish that Daytona and Talladega were. Yeah. Because then I think we would all enjoy it more. The fans would enjoy it more. The racing would be better. But I just think Atlanta's that good size. It's a small track, and the corner radius, like you don't have grip that you want, and there's like gaps and holes to fill, and Daytona and Talladega, you're just like, well,
What about off turn 2? Did you lost a little bit of grip there too for the lead there?
Grip and a little bit of perception judgment, I think. But that was definitely my fault for sure. I had that run and I just wanted to take it, and there was a moment where I thought I was clear, It was going to be tight.
Yeah.
And then I heard clear, and that's, my angle gets bad.
And you're already
and like now I can start to feel him there, and I'm tight.
Yeah.
And it was just too late, and I squeezed him in the fence big time. So yeah, that was on me. I was hoping to just like have that tight clear, off of 2, but then him like be there to pick me up right away, and it was just a misjudgment on my part.
Well, his car also had enough speed to stay out there, because a lot of guys, I would say 30 out of the 36 cars in the field, that spot's yours.
Yeah.
And just in that instance, I think.
Yeah, that's like in my interview, I was like, man, I was surprised because I hadn't seen a replay yet. But I was like, man, I was surprised he got to my right rear as quick as he did. Mm-hmm. Well, he was there the whole time, pretty much. You know, so it was just a misjudgment on my part, and I feel bad about it. So you don't ever want to be the guy to cause a wreck.
Yeah,
I thought you just learned that one from Denny, because I know you guys are golf.
No, Denny's usually come door to door.
Yeah,
so
yeah, he didn't even give you enough rope.
Yeah, no, but it's similar. Similar. Like my angle is what ran him out of space, and. When I've been running the fence, it's the angle that Denny has left me. So I really didn't leave him much of a. I left him a choice, but not enough.
It got to the point at the end where it was like you had to, if you didn't take or block the run aggressively. I mean, Hocevar is the one that sticks out, right?
Yeah.
The most aggressive, wrecking every lap and puts himself in position to win, right?
And that's a lot of times it looks like that at speedways, where I feel like others might say otherwise of me, but I do feel like I'm really aggressive at most tracks. I feel like at speedways I'm not, and I feel like I watch Joey, Cindric, Blaney, William, Bubba, you, Ricky, like the most aggressive guys out there are the ones that go to the front, and that's kind of what I think I need to get better at. Obviously, I stepped the line a little bit yesterday.
Have you talked to him?
Not yet. We texted a little bit this morning.
Yep.
We're gonna reach out to each other after all of our meetings and stuff, and I look forward to talking to him, because obviously, I'm sorry. I don't really know what else to say besides I'm sorry, but I do have a lot of respect for him, and I didn't get to talk to him last night, but I heard as Cliff came over to me, he's like, man, this is the most like Penske way of anything. He's like, I guess Austin Cindric went up to Jeff Andrews like, hey, Mr. Andrews, I'd really like a chance to speak to Kyle. Here's my business card. So he gave Jeff Andrews his business card and gave it to me. So I got his number that way.
Can I just pause right there? Austin Cindric has business cards?
Yeah.
I never got one.
Like, I forgot it at home.
Do you have it?
I forgot it at home.
Damn
so
it.
I had Caitlin take a picture of it and send it to me.
We're going to put it on the YouTube.
Yeah.
Does it say race car driver?
Hey, guys.
It says driver.
Okay.
Yeah, Austin Cindric. I wonder if that's like a normal Penske thing. Does Blaney have business card? He doesn't seem like a
Did he have one
card.
in his fire suit?
I don't know. I didn't say. I'm guessing.
But now I'm baffled.
But I like that. I really I gained respect hearing him, hearing of that. Like, that's so old school, and you don't. Nowadays it's like
let's get on Twitter and talk.
Hey William, or hey Alex, you got Cindric's number? Like, can I get it?
Yeah.
No, like he went ahead.
Here's my card.
Yeah, I thought that was great.
We got to talk about this. Here's my card.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll tell you what, I've worked for Austin. I won Daytona 500 with Austin, right?
Mm-hmm.
Denny said last week, he's probably the best speedway racer in the field right now. And he got the raw end of the deal the last 2 weeks, but that's all you can do is understand each other. And you probably haven't raced each other a ton, I'd imagine. So
yeah, I mean, here and there, like, he's up front more often. I think he's quietly up front. I felt like a lot last year. So yeah, I think you do race each other quite a bit more than you think.
All right, Kyle Larson, buddy, you got a lot of Stacking Pennies fans, but also a lot of race fans behind you in your journey. Good luck to the 5 team this year. And guys, tune in to the YouTube for the full episode. We're going to come back with some Pit Road Boats and Woes right after this. All right, there was Kyle Larson. Now it's time for some Pit Road Boats and Woes. So this is essentially the first real hot pit road that we've had where guys are taking 4, some guys are taking fuel only. So a little bit of mix up and several woes on pit road. What do we got?
This is a challenging pit road. I haven't seen any of these yet because we were obviously doing the race yesterday, but I'm excited to watch these clips live with you. So the first one is Austin Dillon missing his pit box. These pit boxes are super small when you think of, when you think of relativity to Daytona and Talladega, these are really, really short. Paul Swan getting all the tickets up there.
And also coming in for fuel only.
The challenging part here Blaney does it. Mostly every driver I've ever worked with does it. When you come around a car like he did, you tend to shade long because you're trying to give them room in any way.
Yep.
And I think there's something to, and you could back me up on this. When you angle in, you don't really lock them up because you could slide into the wall. You're pointed at the wall, so you kind of let it roll, and it doesn't stop as good. Is there anything there?
When you're turning the wheel into the box, you have less stopping capability because the left front's got all castered and cambered up, right? So it's easy to lock left front tire up, and I think that's what happened here. And also, it's the first stop of the day, so you don't have any practice getting in and out of your box to set your bias.
Yeah.
So if it's heavy front bias and you turn the wheel trying to go around a car, you lock the left front tire up and you slide long. So there's there's a lot of people in the grandstands on Twitter think they know how to drive race cars. There's a lot of nuance to it, and it's not easy.
There's a lot that goes into it, especially on a crowded pit road like that. It's got to be even harder to kind of – everybody's on different strategies, right? Who's doing full fuel? Who's not doing full fuel? Who's doing just fuel? Who's doing tires? So there seems to be a lot going on. Then you're trying to find your pit stall, and everybody is on pit road at the same time because everybody's on the lead lap. So it's got to be super challenging. The next thing that's challenging is – on these gas men each and every week here to get as much as you can. They say the 6 car gets an equipment penalty here. I'm guessing he gets his fuel can drug.
Oh, he's really trying to ride that thing out like a Bronco.
Maybe got it out. Here's the situation here. It all starts with the 1 car being parked in front of the 6.
That's a large
So, yes, dude, if you're gassing these race cars, you're a large human. 100-pound cans just slinging them.
We got to talk about him.
Yeah, Cody Osborne is the fueler for the 6 car. And it starts with the 1 car being parked in front of them. So whenever you have to make a hard right turn to get out of your pit stall, it changes the angle of the fuel head and like the male and female side, the car side and the can side. That's a tight fit anyway. So once they turn a little bit, it gets cocked in there, and then you try to we call it riding it out, and then you're like, I'm in a bad spot.
Yeah. He didn't let go of it, though.
The old adage on pit road is, if that can's going down pit road, you better be effing attached to it.
He was. He didn't even go down. He hit the back quarter panel of the 1 car, bounced off. Probably did more damage to the 1 than he did to himself. That's a dog.
He got a penalty, so I have a hard time making him dog of the week, but it didn't get drugged and doesn't have to get a new can, so he is a dog of the week candidate. Good job, Cody Osborne. Yeah, shout out. First one of the year.
Earned it.
First one of the year. Last one. Hamlin pulls through too many stalls. Seems like it's easy to do at Atlanta because the pit stalls are so small. Let's see what happens here.
Let's see it. Following the 5, tight, looking for your box. Okay, there it is. Pulling in.
Just clipped it. Oh, yeah.
Can't do that.
No, that is
Fuel
cheating,
only.
Denny. Where's the iPad?
Where's the iPad?
Where's the iPad?
We're going fuel only stops. Where's the iPad?
No wonder he didn't win.
The best one this past week with all of those people putting different things was you leave a tip on the Clover thing.
Dude.
Because I never know the right answer, and I always feel like if I don't touch 20%, they instantly judge me. That one was fun.
Well, everybody wants a tip, so why should we be excluded?
Yeah.
I'm getting one at the end of the pit stop. I'm going to stick it in the windshield of Blaney, into the driver, and he's got to select.
He's got 18%.
Yeah, I'm definitely getting no tip. No tip.
Yeah, so.
Dude, I'll tell you what, we were down in pit stall 1 this week, which most places is a very advantageous place to be.
Yep.
This weekend was very challenging. So one of the things from pit stall 1 and Bozy Tatervac, shout out, it's his birthday today as we film. He was filming it right at the line of pit stall 1 where our pit stall ends. It goes from just one pit stall, it's about as high as this table.
Yeah, and then Jersey barriers.
To double, like they put the Jersey barrier up against the wall. So Travis Alexander, who catches the front tires, he literally can't get down there. So you have to keep the tire like super tight. So the first stop I tried to keep it tight, and it like rolled and curled all the way around to like the left side jack stop. It was like in the way, and our guys dealt with it, thank God. And the other thing that's super challenging down there that
how do you curl it? Like, are you gonna be like?
Well, I just keep it. No,
curl it.
You just kind of keep it tight to the car. You just lean out. Like when I pull the tire during a fast stop, like racing for a championship at Phoenix, you just pull it and you toss it at an angle.
Do you try to toss it because the tires are super wide now? Do you try to toss it on one outside angle, inside angle, or flat as possible?
When you're trying to curl it in, you kind of keep it on the inside, and the weight of the wheel, the way it's offset, it'll turn it in.
Ding.
So what you do when you try to get the tire back to the wall a little bit closer is you just lean out a little bit further and get it across the nose. But if it hits the nose, it'll turn out sometimes. Yeah. It's once you let that tire go, it's like, oh, but you have to know, like, it's gone. There's nothing you can do about it. Make sure you get the wheel tight, because the trap is you have a bad tire roll and you wash the right front, then you don't get the wheel tight. I've done this. Then the wheel falls off and you got a penalty. Yeah. So it's like a double whammy.
How many times with this new tire, with all the reps in practice, do you like, that's where the repetitions come in, right? Of just knowing what feels good when you roll it, when it leaves your hand. How many do you think?
How many have I done?
Like, how many reps in practice per time generally? 5, 6, 8?
Everybody's different, but in practice, 6 to 8 a day.
4 days a week.
3 days a week.
Okay.
But there's also a point in time where, like, there's guys that'll just sit out in the practice area and just do that and just do it and it becomes too much. I'm at the point in my career where when we do drills like that, where I just sit there, the cadence is wrong. Because as I'm pulling the tire, the jack's coming up, so I'm pulling it as it's in motion. So if I just try to do it sitting there without my whole team and everything moving and getting in my position as the car stops, if I try to just do it as a stationary drill, I get bad habits because that's not how it is in the race. So I've kind of crested the hill in my career where I don't do that, but a lot of the young guys just wear that thing out.
Interesting.
Yeah, but pit stall one, and then you go from concrete to asphalt. So we were spinning the tires real bad. We had one of our best. It was like an 18-gallon stop, and we lost a bunch of spots, but we were able to figure that out. You're not allowed to spray. Everybody sprays the sticky stuff down in their pit boxes. But last year, some teams were getting egregious and spraying the openings. You're not allowed to do that anymore, so it was really challenging for us to get grip. We actually lost an Xfinity race in that pit stall years and years ago just because you would drop and spin your tires all the way to the line. So pit stall 1 was challenging early for us, but then we gained 14 spots on pit road. And, hey, candidate for Dog of the Week, even though he's a driver, was Blaney, dude. That was impressive drive back through the field.
Yes, it was.
So
but
pretty.
Not the best way to then have to go earn that title of Dog of the Week by having to drive back to the front, because him, along with several others, had a little bit of gripe with that 77 car.
Yeah, and I was frustrated. I'd say in the moment, I was super frustrated with Hosvar because, man, we just couldn't shake him all day.
Well, because he had a good car and he was being uber aggressive to stay up there and maintain his track position.
He was behind us all day long. Yeah. And there was one point in time towards the end of maybe the second stage where he just came from like 2 car lengths back and bombed it in, and Blaney's like, what is this kid doing? Like, he's like, thank God I was watching him or else we all would have been wiped out. Same thing with Kyle Busch. But here's the difference. He was putting people in positions and they were all lifting for him. He was going forward and he was making other guys go back. He's like he's very good, but he's like the new age driver of.
He's like Ross 4 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever it was.
Great point. And I was thinking this last night, and Bianchi said it. Who's going to clip his wings, right? Because Ross was there talking to him. And Ross won some races and was always in the news when he was that way. And then Darlington happened. Rick Hendrick called him. Has not been. There was a lot of factors there.
A lot of factors, right? But GM took all their stuff from Trackhouse's shop, built their new shop, so they lost a bit of a technical edge. But yes, it doesn't help when you get a call from Rick saying, "Hey, boy, straighten it up."
Yeah. So he's like the new age driver that's all take and no give, right? He's like Jackson Storm. All take all the time. It's gonna ruffle these guys' feathers.
Jackson Storm had a bit more swag when he was doing it, but
he's tall and goofy for sure. But
here's.
Everybody talks about like setting him in his place.
Nobody does.
Wreck him.
Yeah, there was an opportunity last lap. If we can, there was an overhead camera. There was an overhead camera in the last lap. They take the white and Hocevar, who also, in my opinion, has the best spotter on the roof, and Tyler Green. They have a very good team on that 77 car. He was going to be second lane, so it was Blaney on the left, I believe. The 77, and then the 21 and somebody else, maybe the 23. Or maybe the 11. I can't see it in front of me. But they were going to be to his right recorder, and that was going to be – he was going to be stuck bottom 3 and not be a contention to win. He literally just hung a right and stuck those guys right in the fence. Everybody wants to talk about how he's doing this and he's doing that and this guy sucks and I'm going to do something about it. Nobody does.
There's only one thing you can do if you're frustrated with them, and it's
you wreck them. Or you get out and you punch them in the nose. But nobody has the balls to do that. So if you're going to –
they can't reach you.
If you're going to
He's tall.
If you're going to talk on the radio, then do something about it. He's going to keep doing that. And it's working. So why would he stop doing what he's doing to put himself in position to, if it raced out and there's no caution light, he had the momentum to win that race.
I think Blaney handled it well. Blaney gets frustrated on the radio, but he also was like, all right, like when the checkered flag flies, he I think he got in on the caution lap, but like he sees it through clear. It's like, okay, this kid's good. He just needs to be told kind of what's going on. But Hocevar's the new age kid too. That's like, will be like, yeah, I'm sorry. And then you walk away and he'll look at his friends and be like, screw that guy.
Yeah.
You know, like that's who he is.
Yeah.
And hey, whatever. That's who you're going to be. Own it. I don't care. He had his best career finish, almost won a race in his 40th start, right? And he's under a lot of pressure to win a race there.
Yeah.
And Spire's spending a lot of money. They've hitched their wagon to him with a long-term deal.
Yep.
If I'm Spire, I want to hitch my wagon to this guy because
he doesn't
kind of need a guy with a chip on his shoulder now. The other thing he did, I think we have a montage here if we roll it and we can kind of watch.
Plenty of footage.
Watch it all.
If you're watching on YouTube. Clear.
Sticks to 8 in the fence, right? He just doesn't care about your run, dude.
That was a big moment. I didn't see that. This is all new to me. So right here. Oh, wait, this is where he spun the 12 out.
Well, what Ryan was frustrated about is he's like, I get he's being aggressive, but he doesn't know what he's doing. He's pushing me at the wrong times, and when he's pushing me, he's swiping across my bumper.
No, I think he absolutely does know what he's doing, and he just doesn't care.
I agree with that.
He right here, like he wanted to do that to you guys who are watching on YouTube. He jams the middle on the 1 because the middle was where your hay was. And if he doesn't cover this middle, then he doesn't have help on the bottom, and he's in the catbird seat here. I believe this might be coming to the white. That was the move that got him in position. Then we see it after the race. The 12 gets him a little. Blaney, hey man, not happy.
He used us up a couple times. So Blaney.
Well, he wrecked you last year at Indy too.
He wrecked us at Indy. He is all take, no give. Ross's issue. I don't understand what Ross's issue was, but like. Hocevar just, kind of schooled him.
Yeah.
Kind of schooled him. Took the inside and just kind of was aggressive. And
no, he plugged the middle, and Ross wasn't anticipating, and he was hoping that maybe as a fellow Chevy or fellow previous Nice teammates, God knows what they were talking about here, but hey, like.
Well, that's the last thing. I wonder what the conversation is today because they get a lot of help from Rick Hendrick, and he pushed the 20 car to the win. Now, he didn't know the caution was going to come out, right? Yeah. But he goes in there, shoves them, plugs at 3.
He had, so if we run the last lap, I looked at this as like if he had an option to probably get to the bottom and push the 5, he would have, but the bottom was covered by the 24. Green, white, checkered here, front row, Ross Chastain and the 77 on the inside, the 5 and the 20 on the outside. This is coming to the white. Ross is in a bad spot. The 77 right here, the 21 tries to get to the right rear just like he did, and the 77 just blended. Like, this is mine. He couldn't get down to the bottom there with the 12 covering it. I think that if he had a split second there to go to the middle and push the 5, he would have. But if they race it out, he's probably going to win the race.
He's got a good position. I mean, if they throw the caution 100 feet later, he wins the race. Yeah. So everybody can be mad at him. I'd be mad at him too if I was driving the cars.
Yeah.
But it's working out for him.
And it's exciting to watch.
Yes, it is. But if I was driving, I'd junk his ass.
Yeah, he needs one good. He needs one good one. If people keep keying up on the radio, sure, call him what you want. Call him all the mean names. It ain't gonna come across until you plug him in the fence. Yeah. He plugged me in the fence twice last year. If we weren't teammates, I would have because I was that mad. But I was trying to be a good teammate.
Now we know what you think about that. Let's see what you think about these Penny for your thoughts questions.
Let's see what we got.
First one comes from SM Miller 318. Can I buy the front bumper off the O-Run hot rod?
Probably. I'm not sure where our damaged pieces go. I'll actually go to the shop and ask tomorrow, and then I'll let you know.
Perfect. Gressy 4. Are you running Bristol? I'm waiting to buy my tickets until it's confirmed.
It is confirmed. It's not announced yet, but I'm going to announce it right now. I'm not going to tell you who's on the car, but we will be at Bristol.
Bristol Motors, first one?
Mm-hmm.
A couple weeks from now?
Mm-hmm.
Love that. Next one. Vegas Jeff 33. Is there a good side to not racing every weekend?
I don't know, Jeff. I've been racing every weekend for the last 7 years. So this is my first weekend not being in it. It's gonna suck watching because I do feel like it's not a matter of like I know that I can go. We qualified 4th there last year at COTA, and we got smashed into in turn 11 and been a toe length, and I've never been more mad inside the race car. So I'll be watching that like I feel like I could have went there and been competitive. But nonetheless.
Do you feel like you want like a 12 hat? Because you'll probably just be pulling for the 12 like a fan.
That's an interesting thing of like who I'll be pulling for. I think I'd appreciate, well, if anything, I'm wearing an 88 hat.
Dale Jr.
Hell yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, you're going to cheer for Shane Van Gisbergen you're just Bills fan, too, when they're in an AFC championship. I see how this goes.
I'm fine being a bandwagon.
Bandwagon fan? Yeah.
What do you mean? We guys, you and I, Ryan, were the first ones to tell everybody, to warn everybody about this monster that's coming overseas. Did we not?
Yeah, I'm excited for him, actually. I'm just messing your balls.
And also, actually, you know who I'm really going to be rooting for?
The 12.
No.
Oh, thanks.
Because you have enough root in them for the both of us. Connor Zilic.
Oh, yeah. Zilic.
Cup debut in the 87 Red Bull Chevy.
Big weekend for him. A lot of hype around him. I'm excited to see how the young man handles it.
Well, he's got the maturity of a 25-year-old at least, and he's ready. He's prepared. I was texting with it this morning. I'm excited to see what he can do on the pole of the truck race by a mile last time. Flat spot of the tires a couple times, but he's not going to have those issues. And these cars with independent rear suspension and transaxles and wider tires are more used to what he's been driving on road courses. He's going to be a top 10 guy.
Think so.
I think you're on top 10. If somebody just doesn't park him just because, like, what is this kid doing?
Yeah.
But I think that he is methodical. I think his racecraft's very good, and I think this car is going to – Trackhouse has exceptional road course cars, I think – and you have all the tools at hand to develop his skills. You can look at the 88 car and SVG and Ross and the 99 and just compare car to car. Like, okay, these guys can run this speed. It's in it. And I think a lot of instances at a road course, Connor Zilic might be the one setting that bar. So don't be surprised, ladies and gentlemen, when that boy comes out of the gate hot.
Yeah, I can't argue with you there. But if he wins in his first debut, it's going to really grind my gears.
I'd love to see it.
What grinds your gears?
Oh, I got something that grinds my gears. So actually, it originally ground my gears, but then my gears have gotten back aligned.
Lubed them up.
So I'm walking out of the garage on Saturday, and I've got I'm just catching up on texts after qualifying and firing away. And when you leave the garage, there's kind of like those little gate, those stanchions or whatever that people stand behind, and you sign autographs and die-cast cars and stuff. So I signed a couple, put my head back down on my phone, and I walked to the stairs that walk down into the dry runner lot. And some guy 15 feet away behind my back, he says, "You suck." So I heard it, and I was like, I kind of looked around, like, oh, he's talking to me. So I was like down 2 steps. I turned around, like, "What'd you say?" I listen. I always hear you talk about nobody talk your face. I said, "Well, thanks for listening to the podcast, pal."
It's a penny stacker of the week now.
And we didn't exchange contact numbers, and I didn't know if he was joking or serious, right? So I said, "Thank you for doing that. Glad somebody does that with some balls." So I go down, hang out the rest of the day. Sunday morning, Schluter has an awesome they had grills set up and the whole thing, tents, and they had probably 10, 15 people there. And I'm just sitting there BS, and it's like 10:30 in the morning. Well, this guy must have parked in this lot because he was wearing a Tyler Reddick hat and a black Budweiser jacket. Well, he's got his wife, he's got his 6-year-old kid, and he's probably got 4 or 5 of his buddies walking by, and he makes eye contact with me and turns away. I said, "Hey, got anything to say today, buddy?" And his wife was looking at me. I said, "Yo, what about today? Got anything today?" And he just turns back and kept walking. So I appreciate that guy. And I know he's listening to, I didn't get his name or I would have gave him a shout out. So thank you I like that little bit of banter, but it actually turned into a one-sided berating by me to him because nobody's ever talked to my face except for that guy.
I love it when there was a scene with LeBron. There was one with Mike Tyson too, where someone was talking crap to him and he they were just in the crowd and they didn't they just said it like you're not a human, and then they just look at him and you're like, uh-oh. Yeah. The one with LeBron really sticks out. Someone called him like a or something, and he was like, what? Yeah. And they were like, oh yeah, I thought it was on Twitter, sorry. Yeah, dude. And that's what I think about, like when people send mean tweets. Like there was that guy in Daytona that was like, you.
Yeah, sitting in the 1,000th row at the grandstand.
And I was just like, man. Then like Bubba said it, they're the people that like when you go up to them like, oh no, I listened to the podcast and I heard.
Yeah. Oh no, those are the guys that want. Hey man, can you sell my diecast car?
It's all people, man. They're just humans. I was speaking of humans. I was talking to Daniel Trotta. We've had Helton on the show, played kickball with him, and he walked up and he's like, hey, Danielle. And he just looked at me. Just kind of walked away. I was like, damn. Well, what do I got to do to get people to remember me around here?
There's his jacket right here in the
Noncents Garage. That would ground my gears a little bit. I wasn't mad, but I was like, I am nobody.
Well, I talked to, nobody's nobody, right? Everybody's nobody, but to an extent. I was talking to him on pit road, too, on Saturday before qualifying, and he's like, well, what are you going to do these next couple of weeks? I said, I don't know. I might be secretary for you or something. I said, I probably don't meet the qualifications in terms of looks to be your secretary. He goes, I damn sure don't want you wearing a skirt to work.
Oh, that's funny.
I said, I don't want to either.
Was
national treasure, that guy.
You go hang out with him. He's got a farm. That's his home track, I guess.
Yep.
So it was good to see him. It's always good to see them guys at the track, man. Their knowledge is super valuable.
If I can just hear where one of the two of those bodies are buried, that he knows where they're at of the sport, I would love to hear that. Penny Stackers of the week. One guy was talking to me before qualifying on pit road with a British accent. Adrian from London. Came over here for the Daytona 500, stayed around for the week, went to the Hall of Fame, drove down to Atlanta. He's flying out from Atlanta on maybe Monday or Tuesday, flying back home.
Got his money's worth for sure.
Got his money's worth. So he's a huge fan, listens to the podcast every week. So shout out Adrian for listening to us overseas, as well as Israel from Mexico City. Same thing. He came up. I believe he might work for NASCAR in translation, whether he's a writer or something. So shout out to Israel. It's cool when people, especially from just different places in America, are listening to the show.
Yeah. There's a lot of penny stackers I get every week. I don't always catch their names, but a lot of people coming up saying they love the show. So thank you for doing that. A couple stats to end the day here. I had an odd stat. Michael McDowell, dismal start to the year in the 71 car, but he did tie a record for the most free passes in a single race this weekend. 6 of them. So
everything has to go right to get 6 lucky dogs. That's incredible.
Oh, or everything's got to go wrong, one or the other.
Yeah, true. But come back run 11th maybe, or run 13th, somewhere in the top 15.
The only guy, there's only been 2 teams to run in the top 10, and that is Blaney, both races, and John Hunter Nemechek, who got a little hate last week.
Yeah.
But I saw that he was.
I think everybody was getting hate on certain podcasts this past week.
So he was good for him, man. Them guys. I was looking at the points rundown, right? And like when I look at that, it's challenging, man. When you bury yourself the first 2 weeks, I see a lot of guys that are expecting to make the playoffs way down the charts.
Oh yeah.
So we'll see what comes of that. Shout out to Austin Cindric, 4th in points, even though he hasn't finished. That shows. Everybody talks about the system, right? If you don't run good all year, he's run good in all the stages, doesn't get the finish. The stage racing has helped the point system, so now he's 4th in points, even though he's gotten wrecked the last 2 weeks. I'm excited to head to a track that is not a super speedway, though.
Be exciting. New course layout at COTA. Be shortened up about a minute per lap time, so the fans will get a little bit more money or get a little bit more bang for their buck, especially if you're sitting in the grandstands this week. It's going to be cool. Austin's just a badass city in itself, but the racetrack is one of the nicest venues that we go to. I'm excited to see the quality of racing they put on this week as a spectator. I'm not really excited about it, but nonetheless, that's what the cards are I'm playing right now. I'll probably be watching it from the war room at RWR is probably the plan right now.
With 12 hat on. So that's cool. We'll cover more of COTA in this week's Spare Change, so tune into that. There's a lot of new changes there, too, with the new track configuration, so a lot to cover in Spare Change this week.
Whether you're watching us on Tubi or YouTube, or listening to us on SiriusXM Channel 90, or wherever you find your podcast. We appreciate you and your time that you spend with us each and every week. Hope you like it. We're going to keep showing up each and every week. Spare changes on Thursday, and watch the race. Just watch the race on Sunday, man. That's all we're asking, and we'll come back here next week and talk about it. Have a great week. Corey Joy alongside Ryan Flores. We're stacking pennies. Goodbye.